Well, hi, everybody. We got a little bit of a conundrum, Cease and Pat, in that we technically don't have a quorum tonight unless I get a late arrival by Steve Coswell or Christina Sargent. But we can do just a couple of updates, if that's all right with you. We're not going to take a vote tonight. This is just a catch-up meeting.
Okay.
Pat, had to ask you, are you still interested in joining or?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Super. That's great. All right. So we have a small group now. It's Paul, Ron, Christina Sargent, and Steve Coswell, who's representing the planning board. Richie Wright stepped off. So Paul is from Cushing, Ron. He's on advisory, and Cease just always shows up. So anyway, I try to get her to join, but anyway, she doesn't seem thrilled about it. She just likes to show up. Anyway, very quickly, I won't keep people that long, but I just wanted to give you just an update on what happened with our rapid recovery program. So we got our finalized report, which is available online on the state website. It's quite a large document. It's well over 100 pages. But if you Google Massachusetts Rapid Recovery Program, you can just follow through the prompts and it'll have a listing of all the final reports for every town that participated. And Ashburnham's right there at the top. So if you want to look at that. After our final report was submitted, we were able to submit the two projects that rose to the top when we had our joint meeting with the select board and economic development of all the projects that were in the final RRP report. So just so people remember, we did a storefront improvement program, and the other one was the temporary installation of pop-up sheds at the soon-to-be developed River Street Park. So we participated in that. We actually got recommendations on the funding assistance in a second report that was provided by those consultants. We received that in January. And that was all in preparation for a new method that the state is using in order to submit grant applications for 12 separate programs. So February 4th, there was an optional expression of interest due. And you were able to submit a minimum of 2 projects, but if you submitted by February 4th, you could submit 5 projects. So what the state agencies are doing are reviewing these 5 project initiatives, determining whether or not Ashburnham would be a good candidate. Are we eligible? And if one of the 12 grant programs that are covered under the Community One Stop would be an avenue for them to apply, or is there another grant program available by the state that they could apply during that grant cycle? So of course, the 2 initiatives that we wanted to bring forward were the storefront improvement plan and the pop-up sheds. We did submit the storefront improvement plan. The storefront improvement plan would require a consultant to come in and give us technical assistance on how we would manage it, design guidelines, applications, that sort of thing. But the actual funding of it was recommended by our RRP consultants to come from a community development block grant. Ashburnham has not been successful with community development block grants in the past because our income averages, household averages, are actually higher And typically we have to partner with another community that brings our score lower in a regional program in order to get CDBG funding. We will not know until September what those federal project initiatives will be for this year, but we're still going to press forward with, if we're accepted, with the technical assistance to hire a consultant to help us pull together the storefront improvement plan. We had hoped that this is an initiative that we could do this year, but potentially it looks like that won't happen until next year, which I'm disappointed in. This is actually Christina. Hey, Christina, how are you? Are you doing this? I can jump on now. Yes, we are. Yep, jump right in. Will that give you a forum? Or? Yes, it will. Yeah. Okay, so I apologize, but I wasn't sure because I looked, was the link in your original email? No, I sent it out a second time. I didn't see it. It didn't go to my... Huh. Maybe it went in junk. Anyway, jump on and I'll let you in. Let's hope I can let you in. Okay. Okay. So let's see if I can make this work because this is not my wheelhouse. But anyway, now the pop-up shed initiative, which everybody loves. Our RP consultants gave us several different options to move forward with that. Unfortunately, there are not very many funding sources for it that don't allow for crowdfunding. So what the option would be for us to apply for a Commonwealth Places crowdfunding grant. We could raise a certain amount of money, and then we would be able to get a match from Mass Development. Unfortunately, it's a real crapshoot, right? Could we really in Ashburnham raise funds for a temporary pop-up shed initiative? We then looked at whether or not we could use ARPA money, because ARPA money can be used for economic development. The costs are pretty significant to run this program. And I'm not even talking about the sheds. The technical assistance is huge. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of $75,000. So it's risky for a couple of reasons. It's a short time frame. And also we're dependent on a community cleanup for, okay, wait a minute. I got to do this. Wait a minute. I got to admit her. There she is. She should be popping on. And so we would have to do the cleanup. And the other unknown is whether or not we would get Conservation Commission approval in order to put the installation at the River Street Park. The good news with the River Street. Hey, how you doing, Chris?
Hey, sorry about that. I apologize.
No worries. The good news about the River Street Park is that we were selected by the Conway School in order to do a redesign of Winchester Park and a landscape design for the River Street Park. So this is going to be beginning in April, and we should get the final design plans for both of those parks by the middle of July. So you can understand, if we're looking to install these sheds in the summer months, right? We're cutting it too close. Yeah. And getting grant funding for the technical assistance was pretty huge. A huge risk if it was crowdfunding, but also I just don't know if the select board would move forward with dedicating ARPA funds for that when there are other ways that we could be spending that money. So anyway, we replaced the sheds with another RRP suggested project, and we picked up on economic development's desire to improve signage in town. So we applied on our expression of interest for technical assistance, a design consultant to develop a brand and wayfinding signs. So they would design the signs, tell us where they would put them, come up with a bid package for fabrication, and we would apply for a second grant, which is due March 1st, to actually pay for the signs. We also decided that we would pick up on another RRP suggested project and include in this wayfinding grant the signs that would be used to connect downtown Ashburnham to our natural resources, meaning signage that would sign to a Watatic and the Mid-State Trail and Jewel Hill and Kirby Conservation Area and other signs like that, any other natural resources like that. That was, and the rail trail would be another one. Again, I don't know whether or not the expression of interest will say that we're a good candidate for this, but we had included it in the project initiative. So those were two. The three other initiatives that we submitted was a downtown improvement master plan. This was something that was suggested by Mass Development after we completed the DPW redevelopment fiscal impact study. They suggested that this would be our next step because this improvement plan would look at things like zoning, land use, parking, additional sidewalks, signage, all of that sort of stuff, okay? Lighting downtown. So it would encompass a lot of things that we should be thinking about as we make improvements to downtown, but also it would assist us in the application process when we have a consultant who is making a recommendation that supports the grant. So that was the third one. The fourth one was a Mass Works grant that would complete the sidewalks on both sides of Main Street from Pleasant Street and Lawrence Street to the Phillipsbrook Bridge, and also taking into consideration the two intersections of Route 12 and 101. So we decided to apply for the, express interest for a Mass Works grant because we are not eligible to apply for another Complete Streets grant for another 2 years. So that would just slow the momentum down that we've built over the last year. So Mass Works does have a program that's very specific to towns our side. It's called the STRAP grant. The project can't exceed $1 million. And if you remember, one of the reasons why we could not do the downtown area on Complete Streets is it exceeded the maximum for the Complete Streets grant, which is $400,000. So the rest of Main Street to finish that work is well over $500,000. Now, if we're accepted to do that project, if that's something they feel we're eligible to apply for, it does require the town to complete a 25% design plan by the fall when we submit our STRAP grant application. So that's something that we're looking at doing. Brian's looking at funding that, but we won't know if we're even a candidate for this Mass Works grant until probably March. The final grant that we expressed interest in was a rural small town grant. It's not for a whole lot of money, but it would be enough for us to do the sidewalks on Memorial Drive. And the reason why we selected that project as a possibility is because the Winchester Park redesign will include the design of the sidewalks and parking and the street all the way from Main Street to Chapel. So we have a leg up for that. Now that grant maxes out at $75,000. It's probably going to exceed $75,000. But if we were to get that grant, the town has the capacity to be able to, basically pay for the shortfall through free cash or, or even ARPA funding. ARPA funding can pay for road infrastructure. So that's where we are on the expression of interest. Like I said, it's a wait and see right now. And if we move forward with any of these grants, we're hoping that we have our town planner / conservation agent in place. We're looking to have that job posted by probably next week. I mean, we're talking about it on Thursday, and hopefully it will be posted and we'll start seeing candidates the end of February, beginning of March. And that person would be instrumental in applying for those grants. And we are also working with our engineer Beta Group, who has agreed to help us with the infrastructure grants. So I mentioned the signs and for the wayfinding. So that is a shared streets and spaces grant. That's the one that's due on March 1st. A shared streets and spaces grant would pay for the fabrication of the wayfinding signs, which are upward of $50,000. So the consultant alone would be about $45,000, and then another $50,000 for the signs. Shared streets and spaces also has a component for equipment, and the town is looking to apply for snow removal equipment for sidewalks, not a new snow blower, heavy tracked machine like we got in 2018. It would actually be a sander that would attach to the back of this sidewalk snow blower. And as they're removing the snow, we'd be sanding the sidewalks at the same time. I think if any of you have been downtown in the last few weeks, it's been treacherous with the ice melt. And we have no ability to sand the sidewalks. We can't put salt down because it eats the concrete. So those are the two ones that are coming up March 1st. The next one on the agenda is a rail trail update. So we did not apply for a Mass Trails grant because of several reasons. This year, Mass Trails grant is limiting the amount of money for a town our size that we could receive to $50,000 cap. Last year, if you remember, we applied for the feasibility study to see if we could connect the Cheshire line to the North Central Pathway. $50,000 is not enough money to do that. In addition, we were excluded because CSX is in the process of purchasing the Cheshire line from Pan Am, and we are not able to get the required paperwork completed because the P&S is still in process, and they're going through the surveying process right now. The sale's not done. We did look at potentially applying for a design grant to see if we could put either a prefab structural steel bridge or a box culvert over the ravine, but we were unable to find the 25% design plan, which was completed back in 2007, 2008. And we needed that in order to move to the next step of the design phase with that grant. So unfortunately, we were unable to apply for that Mass Trails grant. The other thing that is interesting about the Mass Trails grant is they're only funding now accessible trails. So whatever funding they're doing, if it's a rail trail, it has to be constructed as a accessible rail trail. If it's a walking path, it has to be a handicap, stroller, accessible. So we weren't, there were, and the other thing we were talking about was applying for improvements between Willard Road and Cashman Hill. That would be a struggle to make that ADA accessible. Any other questions so far? Sort of like just doing all the talking.
No.
Celebrate Ashburnham Street Fair. So this is a good one. We just appointed a group of individuals. I think there's 6. One of the members on the Street Fair Committee is on Economic Development, Steve Coswell, who represents the Planning Board. They're working to develop a street fair that will be happening end of September, sometime in October. They're looking to close Main Street. We're not going to have this in Winchester Park, but that's the game plan so far. So they just started it. They're meeting. Many of the people on this committee were on the 250th. So they've got some exciting things, planned for this. They will be utilizing Winchester Park, but the main part of the fair will be on Main Street. I did have to ask you, Paul, do you have your dates yet for next year? You're on mute.
I wasn't, I only have one screen, but I was actually trying to find my calendar right now.
Yes,
if I
so
can't find it, what's that?
Send me the dates, because certainly that, your main entrance is on Main Street.
Right.
So we need to know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're going to close it.
Yeah, I'll look for it tomorrow when I'm at work, and definitely give you the dates of anything significant, the end of September or beginning of October. Is that what you said?
That's what they're looking at. Right now, I believe they're closing from Lawrence and Pleasant to Maple will be open. So they'll be routing traffic around downtown. You won't be able to come up Central Street, but Pleasant Street's going to impact you.
Right. Yeah.
So we need to know that.
Okay. I'll let you know.
So if you want to attend those meetings, if anybody else is interested, Steve can, fill us in on what's going on. But certainly that is a big event for Ashburnham. Has anybody heard if Community Days is going off this year? Yeah, we haven't heard anything. And Christina,
Yes.
I mentioned before you came on, maybe you heard it, the Conway School has selected us for a redesign of Winchester Park and a design of the River Street Park. One of the requirements for that process is a significant amount of community engagement, which the students will be holding.
Okay.
So obviously we'd love to have someone from Economic Development if they want to participate in that process. I'm compiling who the contact people will be from the different commissions. Pat, I don't know if you want to bring back to the Agricultural Commission. You might want to be involved in that process, because who knows, Ag might want to do something in Winchester Park or the River Street Park, some event or something like, it doesn't have to be the farmer's market, but it could be something else. And Christina, historical, I would think that's important.
No, it is. And I pulled some information in the last few weeks on that whole thing, Rosemary, that I can get to you. But yeah, I mean, That's exciting that they're gonna do that. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yes. I did find this document.
Yeah, Town Beautiful.
So I'm going to share this with them. This was quite fascinating.
Mhm.
So I'm going to share that with them. I found that in the rail trail stuff. It's amazing how you find stuff all over the place when you dig enough.
No, I know. No, I would be happy to contribute anything that I have that would be valuable for them. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
There's been some, I don't know if there's room down there, but there's been interest by several people to do community garden space.
It's interesting because the library director, the brand new library director, has expressed that interest.
Okay,
So, that might be something that you want to Ag wants to get involved in, but he's a supporter of community gardens.
okay.
I also don't know whether or not River Street Park could potentially be an option for that as well. Jess is looking for a community garden as a learning experience. But, the last I heard from the Conway School, they're trying to develop a connection between Winchester Park and the River Street Park down Water Street, Gingerbread Bread to River. So they're looking at that connection. But because of the Conservation Commission issues, I don't know. I mean, I haven't really talked to Marshall about it. Marshall will be included in this redesign as well, or whomever from Concom. Perhaps a community garden would be something that would be appropriate there, if we can't use it for other purposes. The pop-up shed installation, by the way, on River Street Park was just temporary. It was not permanent in any way, shape, or form. It was just something that was going to happen this year and into the fall. There are going to be EV charging stations installed at the River Street Park. So they're going to be very close to the bridge, and you'll be able to see them as soon as you enter Ashburnham.
Cool. Yeah.
So other business, and this is rail trail related, but if you remember, rail trail is a subcommittee of economic development. So you need to approve any expenditures that are coming from the remaining trail funds that are in a town account. So this is monies that were fundraised by the Rail Trail Committee, but when they were actually a town committee. So the money sits in this account. So if you approve this expenditure, then I can take it to the select board on Thursday and they can vote to release the funds. It's an expenditure for $75 for signs that would be installed at the brand new bridge that Jacqueline and Michael Wooding donated to the rail trail in the fall. So they donated it and installed it. And there are beautiful signs that Jack McCarthy had made. And it's a $75 expenditure. So is this something that I can get a motion for from the rail trail, the economic development people that are here, Christina,
Yeah.
and Paul? I need a roll call. I need a motion, a second, and a roll call vote.
I move that we authorize the rail trail to expend $75 for the signs. Want to add, Rosemary?
Second? Do I have a second?
Well, I'd say second.
Okay. So Ron?
Yeah.
Okay, roll call vote. I can't vote, so.
Oh, I'd say yes, I approve.
Yes, yes,
Ron,
I approve.
Yes,
No, you can't vote, Pat.
I figured.
Yeah, it's good. You have to say your name, Ron.
Oh, Ron Putnam, I approve.
Okay.
Christina Sargent, I approve.
Paul Silva, I approve.
Okay, so unanimous. Great. So I'll bring that to the select board on Thursday. Does anybody else have anything else or?
I did get into my calendar. Is the event planned for the weekend?
It is.
The only thing that I can see on my calendar would be 10/14 would not be a good weekend. That's family weekend.
Okay. Hey, did you hear, Paul, one of the strategies that was extremely successful with our downtown businesses during
was that?
one of Cushing events?
What's that?
They actually put out purple and white balloons and they got a ton of Cushing people. It was Creative Connections.
Oh, that's very creative of them.
It was. And that's something that we should try to encourage all the businesses downtown to do, because when people are coming downtown, the signage is poor in some of the businesses
Yeah.
and they really don't know what's there.
Right.
So that was
That's
exciting.
awesome. That's awesome.
Isn't it? It really
creative.
is. It really is. So, couple
On
of,
that-
go ahead.
On that note, I don't want to be a downer, but since it's economic development and I do want to share, and I'm not going to share names, but we have heard that a certain business in town is not happy that our kids go there because they don't tip enough. That's really discouraging.
sad.
to
They don't
hear.
keep enough. Oh, gosh.
So hopefully it was just a passing comment.
Yeah.
But since it's economic development, I really did want to share that.
Oh, no, that's important. I'll be honest with you. I'm the one who does, the expressions of interest and contacts the state until we get a planner. Okay.
Yeah.
And Cushing is front and center in all of these expression of interests. It's a big economic driver and we can't ignore that. Even in our job description for the town planner, we have in here that we're the home to Cushing Academy.
No, I realize that. And again, I'm just sharing because it was a little bit discouraging when I heard it. Especially considering this is going to be our first reunion in June. First time in 2 years we're having a reunion. And right now it's looking like about 350
Oh, wow.
alum will be coming back, which is the largest reunion we've ever had.
A lot.
So,
Yeah.
I just wanted to tell you, Paul, that, the town, acknowledges and appreciates the presence of Cushing Academy. And, and let me tell you, we use it when we can to our advantage.
and we're happy to. Again,
Yes.
I was just just sharing because it was on my mind.
When's reunion, Paul?
Now you're taxing my memory. I believe reunion is the 10th, I believe.
Is it on your calendar? I can look at it.
I'm looking at
Okay.
my calendar and it actually isn't on my calendar right now.
Oh,
But
It's
I know
probably-
it's between graduation and summer session, so I'm going to say or commencement. So I'm going to say it's probably that either the 4th or the 11th.
Okay. In other things that the town is going to try and work on, and we kind of probably need some help from economic development on these. The state and our consultants are really pushing us to encourage outdoor dining. It's extremely important to the recovery. They say, the state says, extremely important to the recovery of downtown. They were shocked to see that we had very limited outdoor dining during the pandemic. Those communities that did have outdoor dining really saw a tremendous amount of success. I mean, people stopped, they ate outdoors. Seeing tables and umbrellas outside, it's a signal, that we're alive and we're doing business. The state did come out with what they call outdoor dining toolkit, which we're hoping to present to the different businesses who obviously have the ability to serve downtown. And also looking at potentially for those who have liquor licenses, allowing them to be able to serve outside. So we're looking at that. The other thing is I have two landscapers who are interested in adopting two of the islands that are on Main Street and landscaping them for the season. So they're looking, one is looking at High Street. Someone wanted School Street, but I wanted to check with you, Paul. Is this something Cushing wants to do since it's your entrance?
I missed it again. What is it?
So we've had two landscapers who are interested in adopting spaces downtown
Yeah.
in order to landscape it. They get to put their sign on it.
Mhm.
One of them wants High Street, but another said they'd be interested in the schoolboy statue. But if you would like that, if Cushing wants control of that, since it's your entrance, I can push them to another location.
Yeah, we would appreciate that. I think we do some of the work there now, so yeah, it would make sense.
Yeah, that's what I thought. By the way, I think we're getting closer to for the funding to redo the schoolboy statue, which the town owns that statue, but we haven't been able to fund the maintenance of that. But I think we're closer to figuring out a way to make that happen.
Rosemary, can I just loop back to Paul 1 second?
Sure.
Looping back to what you were saying about comments about students not tipping enough. I went to a restaurant in the last few days where they came up with a handheld computer, and it said, you had tiers of tipping, 15, 20, 22% or whatever. Maybe it would be worth approaching whoever is running this business to say, if you offer up something, maybe it's just a question of the students not really knowing. Do you think that's the situation, Paul, where?
Well, yeah, and I think some of it is, we do have, some of them it's teenagers. You have to realize who you're dealing with.
Right.
We do have obviously a large international population, which that isn't what they do.
Right. I was going to say, because culturally, our son-in-law is Italian from Italy. In Italy, the tip is included in the bill. So they may not really understand that in this country, it's customary to add an additional gratuity. So maybe there's a way to bridge this to not create a negative environment, but to say, this is what we can do from our end, and the students will understand that maybe this is how it works.
Yeah, hopefully it was just a one-time comment, and just a little bit short-sighted, not remembering registration day and fall family weekend when the parents do come back and the parents do need someplace to go, because I'm sure they know how to tip and do tip. So.
But I think in respect to the students,
and not just tip, but utilize the town businesses, which is what we want to support. I mean, I include a comment of that in my community impact statement each year. I mean, that's what we want to do, is make sure our families are welcomed and do support the community. So.
But maybe if
I don't want to make a big deal out of it. It was just a
communication.
comment that our head of school actually heard. So.
I'm just saying that if we can help with communication on both sides, the business owner or the student population, to say, we want you to be connecting. That's kind of what our role is, right? To promote that. And so maybe there is an opportunity to say the business owner, maybe the students don't really fully comprehend this, but there's a way to offer it that would make sense to them or something. I don't know.
It might be.
Kids do know how to use Uber Eats, believe me.
Yeah.
That's a suggestion. That's all I'm saying.
Well, the other thing we could do as well is, just put something, like maybe we make a suggestion that somewhere, like on the door or in their, inside the restaurant, they have a little sign that says, tips not included in the bill, or whatever they say, that's standard.
But I mean, this thing that was presented to me said like 22%,
Yes.
tip, which was fine, but I was just suggesting a number, so I'm just going there with Paul to see if that would be
Well,
helpful.
and one of the suggestions on some of those is none.
Yes,
They
it
can
is.
do that. They can
It
do
is.
that. But we
So-
don't want to drive them away feeling like they can't go downtown because, they're not
Exactly.
understanding.
Exactly.
It might just be a very simple solution, Paul. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, so
we-
we are going to have to pull together some sort of a packet that we give to particularly those businesses that serve food,
Right,
and more likely to be looking for tips, right?
right.
With the
Um,
outdoor dining.
Make sure
So-
the new art center knows about the outside dining. That might be something that they're interested to do in front of the
Yes.
church.
Yep, yep. There is grant funding that's available for, if people needed tables and things like that. And the town bought a lot of tables,
Yeah.
which we have since found out we are able to loan. And we're also able to loan like planters and those plastic jersey barriers, things like that. The business owner would have to sign something acknowledging that, it belongs to the town. But other than that, it is a resource that we can provide, and help them, because some of them probably don't even think that they can do it, right? But there are ways, and our consultants have suggested different things. Like they gave the example that Dave Hearns, if he put umbrellas out there, he would attract more people to sit outside.
There was also a proposal at the church, or the lawn in front of the church with the cultural center, to have a food truck there with tables, another concept there. I mean, it's a perfect space to have outdoor dining there in the good
Yeah,
weather.
food trucks, we talked about, when we were thinking about the pop-up shed, we were talking about bringing a rotating food truck in. It does have to go to the Board of Health. That's the only thing that I knew. The one thing that the select board is hot on, and you can understand why from being on economic development, we want the food trucks that do come in to not represent an offering that's currently in town. So having an ice cream truck cuts into Dave Hearn's business, for example. Okay. And I know that Parks and Rec did that last summer, but that was probably not a good choice. But if it's, let's say, a Mexican food truck, right? Or, barbecue, whatever, that's something
That's
different.
limiting though, because if somebody wanted to do breakfast, breakfast foods, muffins and coffee or something, it's still in conflict with Dave, right? I mean,
Not really. He's just doing bagels. And,
Mhm.
so I actually think breakfast and coffee is fine. But we certainly don't want a food truck that's selling sushi, because then we're cutting into Yakisawa, right? We definitely don't need another pizza food truck, right?
Enough
All right. So, I mean, it's just like we need to think about the fact that, we don't want to cannibalize a business that already exists.
Right. No, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the other thing that consultants talked about, and trust me, I spent a lot of time on the phone in the month of January with people from all over the place. Alcohol is a big deal. And having alcohol outside is a big deal. And, they talked about bringing in a beer garden, which I think the street fair is thinking about. Because they did it for the 250th, didn't they?
Yeah.
But also doing something with wine. That was a big hit in other communities where they had like an outdoor wine bar where the business really just had like cheese and crackers, like cheese plates or hummus or a veggie platter, that sort of thing. And being able to have one or two outdoor dinings with a alcohol anchor. And I know this sounds horrible. It just blows my mind. That we have to have alcohol downtown visible on Main Street. But that's what causes people to stop. And
Right.
they can't see the tavern.
Right.
They can't see the tavern. And people don't want to go and have a glass of wine in Brothers Pizza.
No. But if the tavern had part of that parking lot, that was
And
seating area.
signage and correct signage.
Yeah.
If you're going down Main Street, you don't even know the tavern's there.
Right. No, I know.
So the street fair also got a local cultural council grant. I think they got like $1,500. So yeah, they're actually able to fundraise,
Mhm.
which we got passed through town council.
Okay.
Most town committees, or pretty much all town committees, are not able to fundraise. But because this is like the 250th, they were able to do it.
That's good.
So, but anyway, that was pretty much it. Is there anything I'm missing? Cease goes to all these meetings. So did I touch on everything? Are we good? Anybody else have any questions? The only other thing that, is out there, and you need it, it's economic development, but you'll start to hear a little bit more about it, is the change in legislation for MBTA communities requiring multifamily by right zoning. So this was legislation passed in January of 2021. The town has draft guidelines, or the state has draft guidelines, which includes Ashburnham. Ashburnham is an MBTA community. It's an adjacent community. So we're adjacent to Fitchburg, we're adjacent to Westminster. The draft guidelines require us to zone 50 buildable acres for multifamily by right,
Ah,
with the goal of, it's draft, Ron, it's draft.
I hope it's.
It requires, currently requires, and it's a formula right now, it would require 750 multifamily units in
Oh my
Ashburnham,
Oh my
and they cannot be age restricted. So the select board's preparing a letter. We've already partnered with Ann Goby and John Zlotnick in support of that. Public comment is on right now, and you can go online with the state and provide public comment. But I'm sure Ron can tell you, and hey, everybody here in this room can tell us that would be a massive impact. That number of new families coming into Ashburnham when it comes to community services. So I've been reassured by John and Ann that it's a draft. So it's just a formula right now that they applied to everybody, but they're going to be re-looking at it. There's no way we can support 750 units. And where are we going to put them?
Right.
That's ridiculous.
And they want them downtown, mind you, but there's no land.
Sure.
There's nothing there.
There isn't.
We don't
So
have-
anyway, I came in the select board meeting when we talked about it. I recommended we reach out to our elected officials, which many people have. Okay. And so we don't have to do that. They're already contacting us and saying, here, we're here to help you. But reading the information and providing public comment on the state website is extremely important. Because if we do what we typically do in Ashburnham, which is nothing, who knows what will happen? They'll think we're like happy as clams, right?
That's who came up with the 750 unit number.
It's a state. So
That's
it's
ridiculous for a
it's the,
community this size.
Housing and
That's
Economic
ridiculous.
Development. So it's primarily for those communities that are, are only a half a mile away from a transit stop. That's not us.
Hey, Christine,
Well,
if
I
you want
think
to feel happy,
Westminster
Ashby
would have a
Ashby
hard
has to
time.
have the same number.
I think
Yeah.
Westminster is gonna have a hard time meeting that requirement.
Right.
They're
Ashby's got
750
the
as
same
well.
number.
Yeah, they're at 752. So think
Yeah.
about that for the schools, right?
Yeah,
So, 750 units from them, 750 with us, and
Right.
yeah,
That's
it would be extremely difficult. And trust me, it's very obvious to Ann and John, and they're like, I had a brief conversation with John on Monday. We're going to run a draft by him. He's going to do a separate letter. Ann might just sign on to ours. We're reaching out to our brand new state senator, Joe Comerford, who will be coming on board if she's reelected in the fall, well, January. And, asking her for her support as well. So
It's ridiculous.
anyway, so I can send that link out if you wanted to provide individual comment on that.
Yeah, definitely.
Would be
It's
good.
filling out, it's just a form type thing, but look at the PowerPoint presentation or the webinar and learn a little bit more. But like I said, there's a little asterisk next to the 750. And if you read it, it says draft. So
Yeah.
now's the time to change that. Any other questions?
Reunion is June 3rd through the 5th.
Okay, super. And graduation is May?
Graduation is May 20-something, 7th,
Okay.
I think.
It'd probably be good. I'm just going to let some of the downtown businesses know. Maybe they can do the purple and white. Do you mind if they do the purple and white?
We don't have a copyright on purple and white. White and purple,
They're
white and
probably,
purple, yeah.
they're probably walking down the street and they're saying, oh, wow, this must be a Cushing business.
Not at all.
So any other news that people need to report, or we're good?
21st, May 21st.
Okay. If we can please try to find members.
Right.
That would be great. I did, we're announcing it at every select board meeting. We have flyers that are going out at the town caucus, the Democratic Town Committee. I don't know anybody on the Republican Town Committee, but it's available to them as well. We're going to have it available at the library where we're recruiting volunteers. Unfortunately, we're not getting people at all for anything. I mean, we got one person at Cultural Council, but they're being recruited by the individual committees.
So the real problem is the leadership though, right, Rosemary? I mean, there's nobody that wants to really be the chair, right?
I think, well, no, not yet. I mean, but we enlarged this committee. You do not have to be a business owner now. You just have to be a resident. So a lot of the constraints are off. But unfortunately, I think it's just the climate. We're seeing it in every, even like Rail Trail, the Friends of the Library.
Historical.
But you need to get, Christina, if you could write something up, we'll put it on the town website.
Mhm.
You can have it at the library. That's where we're seeing a little bit more traction.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just the political climate. People just don't want to get involved. It's why the people stepped off economic development.
And it's political, and it's also, people are tired.
Yes.
what I was gonna say. I was gonna
know
say,
the-
some people are tired.
Yes, it's the same people who do everything, right?
Yeah.
But also, I think the pandemic is just wearing everybody down.
Yeah.
If you're Zooming all day long, the last thing you want to do is have a Zoom meeting at night, Paul.
Well, this works because I could just go downstairs and have dinner versus trying to find someplace open.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, at
Exactly.
least you don't have to drive 45 minutes now to eat, Paul. Come
That's
on,
right.
let's go.
I'm good with the Zoom. And on that note, I'm gonna go cook dinner.
Yes, so that's fine. I don't have anything else if everybody's okay.
No.
And,
Are we all set?
Yep.
All right, so if you have anybody else that you want to join, let me know and I'll send out an invite for our next meeting. And, we'll try to pull something together in March. Hopefully we'll hear more from the expression of interest.
That would be good. And Ron, I will reach out to you tomorrow morning. I got your email, so.
Okay, okay, good, good.
Okay.
Great.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Rosemary, we're gonna have a Zoom meeting in March, I hope, because I'm away.
Yes, I hope so. I hope so. But you could log on as well. I mean, we're gonna need you for a quorum.
Okay.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
But yes, that's my hope.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Rosemary, for all your work.
Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you.
Well, thank you guys. Thanks for showing up.
Okay.
See you all soon.
too.
Yep.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.